Ashley Johnson took a deep breath as she walked toward the luxury handbag store located on one of the busiest streets in downtown. It was a sunny Saturday, and the sunlight reflected off the shop windows, creating a spectacle of lights and colors. However, the heat of the day could not dissipate the anxiety building in her chest. She wore a simple cotton blouse and a black skirt, choosing clothes that made her look discreet. Her intention was to avoid unwanted glances, a desire that had become a constant in her life. As she crossed the glass door of the store, the soft sound of bells rang, but the atmosphere was far from welcoming. Ashley immediately noticed the suspicious looks that were fixed on her. Well-dressed customers, with their designer handbags and sparkling jewelry, exchanged whispers. The staff, in their impeccable uniforms, seemed to hesitate before approaching. The manager, a blonde woman named Emily, was behind the counter, watching the scene with a look of disdain. Ashley tried to ignore the hostility surrounding her. With a firm step, she headed to the counter, determined to find the handbag she desired. She had worked hard to save that money and was determined to buy what she wanted, despite the cold atmosphere enveloping her. The smell of new leather lingered in the air, mingled with the scent of flowers that decorated the space. It was a place that exuded sophistication, but at that moment, everything felt overwhelming. "Can I help you?" Emily asked, her voice sounding more like a command than a genuine offer of assistance. Her blue eyes assessed Ashley from head to toe, a judgment that did not go unnoticed. "Yes, I'm interested in that handbag," Ashley replied, pointing to a brown leather bag displayed on an elegant shelf. "Can you show me in other colors?" "Of course," Emily responded, but her expression revealed that friendliness was not in her vocabulary. "May I ask if you are interested in making a purchase, or just browsing?" Ashley's heart raced as she sensed the insinuation. She forced a smile, trying to maintain her composure. "I have the money to buy it. I'm just considering my options." "All right, then," Emily said, raising an eyebrow. "But the handbag in question is a luxury item. Just to clarify, are you aware of the price?" Ashley felt a wave of indignation wash over her. It was as if Emily's words were a punch to the stomach. "Yes, I'm aware. I did my research before coming here," she replied, her voice firm. "Very well then," Emily said, but the way she spoke made it clear that she did not believe Ashley. She turned and began to grab the brown bag, but not without casting a disdainful look at the other staff, as if to say that Ashley was not worthy of that attention. A young salesman named Mike, who was organizing some items on a nearby shelf, sensed the tension in the air. He approached, trying to break the hostile atmosphere. "Hi, can I help with anything?" He smiled, a genuine gesture that seemed out of place in that environment. Ashley turned to him, grateful for his presence. "Yes, I'd just like to see that handbag in other colors," she said, trying to stay calm. "Of course, we have a lovely collection. Come with me, I'll show you," Mike responded, motioning for her to follow him. He seemed genuinely interested in helping her, unlike the manager. As he showed her the options, Ashley couldn't help but notice Emily's disapproving glances. The manager leaned over the counter, watching them closely, with an expression that mixed anger and disdain. Mike, in turn, continued to explain at every detail of the handbags, his friendly tone contrasting with the hostility of the manager. "This one is a limited edition, highly sought after," Mike explained, holding up a black bag with gold accents. "I really think it suits you." Ashley smiled, feeling a bit more at ease. "Thank you, I really like this color," she said, picking up the handbag to examine it more closely. "But I want to see if there are other options before I decide." Sure, we have a stunning red model that is simply gorgeous, Mike replied, still smiling. He quickly stepped away to fetch the other handbag, leaving Ashley alone for a moment. While she waited, Ashley felt Emily's piercing gaze on her back. The discomfort returned, and a wave of insecurity enveloped her. She was there to make a purchase, but the way the manager was watching her made it feel like she was intruding on a space that didn't belong to her. "Here it is," Mike returned, holding the red handbag. "Look, this shade is perfect to highlight any look." Ashley took the handbag, and while admiring the vibrant color, she heard the voice of Jessica, her influential friend, echoing in the store. "Ashley, you're here!" Jessica exclaimed, entering the store with her usual air of confidence, wearing a dress that showcased her sophisticated style. Ashley turned quickly, relieved to see her friend. "Hi, Jess. I'm just looking around." "It looks like you're facing a battle," Jessica said, noticing the tension in the air. She shot a challenging glance at Emily, who now looked even more annoyed. "Nothing I can't handle," Ashley replied, trying to hide her frustration. "I'm just looking at some handbags." "You deserve to be treated with respect, Ashley," Jessica said, her voice firm. "These stores need to understand that everyone has the right to good service, regardless of appearance or what they're wearing." Ashley nodded, feeling empowered by Jessica's presence. "I agree. I just want to buy a handbag," she said, looking at Mike, who was watching the interaction with an encouraging smile. Emily, realizing the situation was slipping out of her control, approached again, trying to reassert her authority. "If you're not interested in purchasing, it might be better to look elsewhere." "I am interested," Ashley replied, now with more confidence. "And I expect to be treated with the same respect as any other customer." Emily's gaze hardened, and Ashley could feel the tension between the two women. The atmosphere in the store was charged, and the sense of discrimination felt palpable. Every exchanged word became a battle, and Ashley knew she needed to stand her ground. Jessica's presence beside her made all the difference. She knew she wasn't alone, and that encouraged her to fight for her rights. As Emily tried to regain control of the situation, Ashley decided she wouldn't be silenced. She was there to make a purchase, but she was also there to be heard. And in that moment, she promised herself that she wouldn't let discrimination silence her. The day was still sunny, but for Ashley, a new atmosphere was beginning to form. The fight against injustice was just starting, and she was determined not to give up. Ashley took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside her. On that sunny day, the luxury handbag store felt like a maze of oppression, where every corner reminded her of her color and how it made her a target of discrimination. After the disdain she had faced at the entrance, the idea of being treated with suspicion again made her uneasy. But the handbag she desired was there, and she would not allow a prejudice to stop her from having it. With a determined look, Ashley approached the counter where Emily, the manager, was watching her with an expression that mixed disdain and arrogance. The woman, with perfectly aligned blonde hair and an expensive suit, seemed to think she had the right to judge who deserved what. After a pause, Ashley decided to break the silence. "Hello. I would like to see this handbag in other colors, please," Ashley said, trying to keep calm in her voice. Emily raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. Her response was a sarcastic smile, as if she were amused by the situation. "You know these handbags aren't cheap, right?" the manager questioned, her tone implying that Ashley couldn't afford such an expense. Ashley's heart raced. Emily's insinuation felt like a slap in the face, a cruel reminder that for some people, she was still seen as less. Trying to ignore the hostility, she maintained her composure. "I just want to see the options. I can pay for the handbag," Ashley replied, her voice firm despite the tension building in the room. Mike, a young salesman who was organizing some bags on a nearby shelf, noticed the scene and decided to intervene. He always believed in the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their appearance or financial situation. "Excuse me, ma'am, but I can help," Mike said, approaching with a genuine smile. "We have several colors of this handbag. I'll get some for you." Ashley felt a wave of relief upon hearing Mike's voice, which seemed to be the only light amid Emily's arrogance. She nodded her thanks while the manager watched with anger, clearly annoyed by the salesman's intervention. The tension was palpable, and Ashley knew that Mike's actions were challenging not only Emily's authority, but also the store's status quo. "That's not necessary, Mike. Ms. Ashley doesn't need assistance," Emily shot back, her tone sharp as a blade. "Let's let her decide for herself." Mike didn't let himself be intimidated. He looked at Ashley, his eyes conveying silent encouragement. "Actually, I insist. Most of our customers prefer to see the options before deciding. It's a service we offer," Mike replied, maintaining politeness and professionalism. Ashley smiled at him, grateful for his support. The momentary connection between the two seemed to break the barrier of discrimination that Emily was trying to establish. As Mike stepped away to fetch the bags, Ashley took the moment to regain some of the confidence the manager had tried to steal from her. "Thank you," Ashley whispered to Mike, who simply gestured in understanding. Emily, on the other hand, didn't seem willing to let the situation go unnoticed. She was furious with Mike's audacity, and even without saying a word, her expression spoke volumes. To her, the store was a space that should be reserved for the right customers, and Ashley did not fit that profile. As Mike returned with several color options, the air was thick with tension. The shiny, luxurious bags reflected the daylight, but that wasn't what Ashley wanted to see. What she really desired was to be seen as a legitimate customer, not an intruder. "Here are the colors you requested," Mike said, placing the handbags on the counter with an encouraging smile. Ashley looked at the options. There was a vibrant shade of blue that made her feel something special. However, Emily's presence, watching her with a critical eye, made everything more difficult. It was as if the manager was waiting for any mistake, any reason to belittle her presence. I would like to try the blue handbag," Ashley said, trying to maintain a confident tone. "Of course," Mike replied, taking the bag and handing it to her. "Feel free to try it on." Ashley held the bag, feeling the weight of the leather in her hands. It was a pleasant sensation, but at the same time, insecurity wrapped around her. What would Emily think if she decided to buy it? The voices of insecurity began to whisper in her mind, but Ashley took another deep breath, deciding that she wouldn't let someone else's negativity affect her. "What do you think, Ashley?" Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Your subscription is super important to us and helps us reach our subscriber goal. Will you join us on this journey? Click the subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss any updates. Mike asked, closely observing her expression. "I love it. It's beautiful," Ashley replied, a sparkle of enthusiasm in her eyes. Emily, who had been watching everything with her arms crossed, couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment. "You know, there are many people who think they can just walk in and out of luxury stores like this without understanding what it really means to value a product," she said, her voice full of contempt. Ashley felt her heart race again. It was a direct attack, and once more, she found herself challenged not to react. "I understand the value of what I'm buying, thank you," Ashley said, now with a firmness she didn't know she had. And I also know that respect is something we all deserve, regardless of how we look. Mike smiled, clearly impressed with Ashley's response, while Emily recoiled, clearly not expecting the customer to stand up for herself. The tension in the air was palpable, and Ashley knew that the situation couldn't continue like this. "If you don't mind, I'll take the handbag," Ashley said, deciding that she wouldn't let Emily's negative energy affect her any longer. "And if possible, I'd like to pay now." The manager, taken aback, hesitated for a moment. The expression of disdain had transformed into a mix of anger and perplexity. "Sure, if you really are capable of doing so," Emily said, sneering once again. Ashley rolled her eyes, but decided it was better not to engage in an argument. Instead, she turned to Mike, who stood beside her with a supportive look. "Let's go, please," Ashley said, trying to ignore Emily's hostility. As she headed to the register, the confidence she had gained throughout the conversation began to dissipate. However, her determination remained strong. Ashley wasn't there just to buy a bag. She was there to reaffirm her place in that space, to challenge expectations, and above all, to show that her presence was just as valid as anyone else's. As she reached the checkout, Ashley braced herself for yet another moment of tension, but Mike's presence by her side made her feel she wasn't alone. What had started as a simple visit to the luxury store had turned into a true test of endurance and dignity. The struggle was just beginning, and Ashley was determined not to leave defeated. Ashley felt the weight of tension in the air, each glance around her like a sharp blade, cutting her into pieces. Emily, the manager's presence, was oppressive and relentless, as if her words were a constant echo, undermining Ashley's presence. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but the way Emily looked at her, from above, with a mix of disdain and distrust, made her hesitate. The store's environment, with its softly elegant colored walls, couldn't muffle the hostility emanating from the manager. Ashley observed the displayed bags, each more stunning than the last. But at that moment, everything seemed secondary. The only thing that mattered was the need to be respected. As she tried to focus, the store's door opened, and a familiar sound caught her attention. It was Jessica, her influential friend, who, upon entering, immediately sensed the tense atmosphere. Their eyes met, and Ashley felt an instant wave of relief. Jessica was a force of nature, always confident and determined, and her presence breathed courage into Ashley. "What's going on here?" Jessica asked, her voice firm and clear, cutting through the tension like a hot knife through butter. She quickly approached Emily, who had become the embodiment of disdain. "Jessica!" Ashley exclaimed, trying to hide the mix of relief and frustration in her voice. "I'm just looking at the bags, but—" She hesitated, the words difficult to say. "But the manager doesn't seem to believe that I could buy one." "Of course you can, Ashley. Don't let her make you feel any less than that." Jessica turned to Emily, crossing her arms with a determined expression. "Do you have any idea what you're doing? This is a customer. Treat her with respect." Emily, for her part, was not willing to relent. "I'm just following the store's protocols. It's not my fault if people can't afford to shop here," she replied, her cutting tone revealing an hostility that couldn't be ignored. "Protocols or prejudices?" Jessica fired back, each word loaded with indignation. "You should know that customer service includes everyone, regardless of skin color or appearance. Ashley has just as much right as anyone else to be treated with dignity." Ashley felt her heart race upon hearing Jessica's words. Since the moment she walked into the store, she had felt a knot in her throat, a sense that her capabilities were being questioned. But now, with her friend by her side, that feeling began to dissipate. You can't just ignore the dignity of customers, Jessica continued, her voice firm as steel. This is unacceptable. And if you can't see that, maybe you shouldn't be in the position you hold. Emily's gaze darkened, and Ashley realized the manager was about to explode. But instead of yielding to anger, Ashley decided to take the lead. Jessica, I appreciate your support, but I can handle this, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. I just want to be treated like any other customer. Yes, and you deserve that, Jessica insisted, but Ashley interrupted her. Please, Humiliated, let me try. I just need a moment to show her that I'm here to buy, not to be judged. Ashley turned to Emily, who was watching her with a disdainful look. I would like to see that bag in blue, please, Ashley said, her voice stronger than before, though still laced with a tremor of nervousness. Do you really think you can afford that? Emily replied, the arrogance in her voice evident. That bag costs more than most people make in a month. Ashley felt her confidence waver, but Jessica's determination by her side made her stand firm. Emily, the color of my skin does not determine my ability to buy a bag. I'm here making a purchase just like any other customer. Respect that. The manager stepped forward, her expression of disdain even more pronounced. If you want, I can call someone to help you, but I can't guarantee they'll want to waste their time with you. The challenge in Emily's words made Ashley's blood boil. I don't have time for games, Emily. I'm here to buy a bag, not to listen to your insinuations. If you can't help me professionally, I will find someone who can. At that moment, the young salesperson Mike, who had been watching the scene from a distance, decided to intervene. He approached Ashley and Jessica with a friendly smile that contrasted with the hostile atmosphere. Can I help you, ma'am? He said, his voice calm and respectful. Which bag would you like to see? Ashley looked at Mike, feeling a bit more at ease. I would like to see the bag in blue, please, she replied, her voice now more assured. Sure, I'll get that for you, Mike said before quickly walking away. Emily watched angrily as Mike walked away, clearly displeased with the interruption of her authority. You shouldn't encourage this kind of behavior, Mike, she said, her voice full of disdain. This customer doesn't fit the profile. She is a customer and deserves to be treated as such, Mike replied, his posture defiant. Everyone deserves respect, regardless of who they are. Ashley felt a wave of gratitude for Mike. He was there, willing to challenge them, and that made her feel stronger. When he returned with the blue bag, Ashley took it and examined it, the material's shine reflecting the store's light. It was beautiful, just as she had imagined. It's perfect, she said, a smile forming on her lips. Can I try it on? Of course, Mike replied kindly. I'll check if we have a mirror around here. As he walked away, Ashley turned to Jessica. Thank you for being here, she said, emotion overflowing in her voice. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't shown up. You're an amazing woman, Ashley. Never let anyone make you feel less than that, Jessica replied, squeezing Ashley's hand. This store needs to understand that respect is fundamental, and you should accept nothing less. Ashley nodded, her confidence growing by the second. When Mike returned with a mirror, she turned to him, and as soon as she looked at herself, she saw not just the handbag, but the strong woman emerging within her. I really want to take this bag, she said, her smile now radiant. Great. I'll take care of that for you, Mike replied, his expression genuinely excited. As he began the payment process, Ashley felt an intense warmth spreading through her body. The fight for equity and respect had begun right there, in that moment, and she was determined not to let discrimination silence her. With Jessica by her side and Mike's support, Ashley was ready to face any challenge that might arise. The luxury handbag store, which should have been a dream space, had turned into a battleground, and Ashley was determined to win. The atmosphere in the luxury handbag store was charged with tension after Jessica's intervention. Ashley, with her heart racing, felt a mix of nervousness and determination. The voices of customers around her began to rise, some murmuring in support, while others exchanged confused and uncertain glances. Jessica's presence, her influential and fearless friend, had given her courage, but she still couldn't believe she was experiencing this. "This is unacceptable!" Jessica exclaimed, gesturing towards Emily, who was frozen behind the counter, her eyes wide, unable to react to the pressure building around her. "You need to understand that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their appearance or background." Emily, trying to regain her composure, took a deep breath and replied with a tone of disdain, "I'm just following the store's policies. I can't just serve everyone without criteria." "Criteria?" Ashley couldn't hold back. "You mean criteria are just a pretext for discrimination? I came here like any other customer, willing to spend my money. What's the problem? The color of my skin." The murmurs of support in the store began to grow. A nearby couple, who had been silently observing, exchanged meaningful glances. The woman shook her head, clearly outraged. "She's right. This is shameful. No one should be treated this way." Ashley turned to the woman, feeling a wave of solidarity. "Thank you," she replied, her emotion nearly overflowing in her voice. "That's exactly what I'm trying to say." The tension intensified as more customers began to speak up. A well-dressed man, who seemed to be waiting for service, approached the group. "I've been a customer here for years," he declared, his tone firm. "And I've never seen anything like this. This needs to change. The store should be a welcoming space for everyone." Emily, now visibly flustered, looked around, realizing her control was slipping. "You don't understand," she tried to explain, her voice trembling. "I was just trying to maintain order. The store's guidelines that you interpret however you want." Jessica interrupted, her tone incisive. "You're not just maintaining order. You're perpetuating a system of exclusion. This is completely unacceptable." Ashley felt a growing warmth of empowerment. The energy in the room was shifting, and she realized she wasn't alone in this fight. "I don't want a hollow apology," Ashley said, turning to Emily, who was still trying to regain her composure. "I want real changes. I want the store to implement a diversity and inclusion policy. This isn't just about service. It's a human issue." The murmurs intensified, with customers around nodding in agreement. Ashley felt that she was finally being heard. Jessica, sensing the change in atmosphere, stepped forward. "And how do you intend to do that?" she asked, looking directly at Emily, the expectation hanging in the air. I don't have control over that," Emily stammered, the mask of authority beginning to crumble. "Those decisions are made by management." "Then you need to take it to management. Show them that your behavior is unacceptable and that we need changes," Jessica insisted. "And, more importantly, you need to do it publicly." Ashley nodded, feeling the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "That's right. I want this to go beyond a simple incident. I want this to become a conversation about how luxury stores treat their customers, about how racism exists in places that should be welcoming." The manager didn't know how to react. The disapproving looks from the customers surrounded her, and she realized the situation was slipping out of her control. "All right," she finally said, her voice wavering. I will contact management and make a report about this. And you will do it transparently, Ashley added. I want to see progress, not just words. I will follow up on this. The store, once filled with glamour and ostentation, was now becoming a battleground for a much larger fight. Ashley felt she had crossed a threshold, a line that prevented her from going back. The support of the customers around her encouraged her, and the idea of being a symbol of resistance began to take shape in her mind. The scene began to disperse, but the conversation continued among the customers. Many voices mingled, sharing similar experiences of discrimination and prejudice. Ashley heard accounts from other women who, like her, had been treated with disdain for their appearance in luxury stores. Each story strengthened her determination. Jessica, by her side, looked at her with an encouraging smile. You did this, Ash. You really did this. And now? Ashley questioned, still processing the magnitude of what had just happened. What do I do next? We need to take this to social media, Jessica suggested, her eyes shining with the idea. People need to know what happened here. This is an opportunity for you to become a meaningful voice in this fight. Ashley hesitated for a moment, but the idea intrigued her. Do you think that will help? Definitely. If people know what happened, and if you share your story, it can inspire others to speak out too. Together, we can make a difference. The conversation in the store had ended, but the impact of what had happened reverberated within Ashley. She felt she had gained a new responsibility. A flame within her had been ignited, and now she needed to decide how to use it. Later, when she finally left the store, the sun was shining brightly, but the warmth of the day could not compare to the heat in her soul. She looked at Jessica, who was walking beside her, and said, Let's do this. Let's talk about what happened and fight for change. This is just the beginning, Ashley, Jessica smiled, full of enthusiasm. I will help you every step of the way. Ashley smiled back, determined. She was no longer just a customer looking for a bag. She was a woman who had stood up against injustice and was ready to fight. The struggle wouldn't be easy, but she knew she had the support of her friend and a community that was beginning to unite. The journey was just beginning. Ashley sat at her desk, surrounded by papers and notes, as the soft morning light filtered through the window. The incident at the bag store still echoed in her mind, but now it was time to take action. With the fallout from what happened, she knew she had the opportunity to turn her experience into something meaningful. The concept of creating a foundation to combat racism and promote equality had already begun to take shape in her mind. It's time to give a voice to those who don't have one, she murmured to herself, resolute. Jessica, her influential friend, had shared the video of the incident on social media, and the reaction was immediate. Messages of support and solidarity began to flood Ashley's inbox. People from diverse backgrounds, who also felt marginalized, started to speak up. Some even offered to help her in her new endeavor. Ashley, you need to turn this into something bigger, Jessica suggested in one of their conversations. You can be the change you want to see in the world. The idea of a foundation seemed more and more tangible. Ashley gathered her courage and began to sketch out a plan. She wanted the foundation to be a safe space where the voices of oppressed people could be heard. We need to unite, she said to Jessica as they planned together. I want this to be not just about me, but about all of us. Meanwhile, at the bag store, the atmosphere was not so calm. Emily, the manager, was furious. The incident had tarnished her reputation, and the store was facing a wave of criticism. She couldn't bear the thought of being seen as the villain of the story. These people don't know what they're talking about, Emily told one of her colleagues, her tone dripping with disdain. Ashley is not someone who can dictate the rules. I'm not going to let this bring me down. Determined to destabilize Ashley, Emily started spreading rumors about her integrity. Did you see how she behaved? I bet she just wanted to create a scandal, she murmured to some customers, trying to plant doubt. With each passing day, her frustration grew. But Ashley was not willing to let it affect her. She was determined to move her foundation forward. Let's meet with influential people in the fashion and beauty industry, Jessica suggested excitedly. If we can get support, we can make a big difference. Ashley agreed, and together they began to compile a list of potential allies. Jessica's enthusiasm was contagious, and Ashley couldn't help but feel hopeful. However, the situation at the store was spiraling out of control. Ashley began receiving anonymous messages insinuating that her foundation was just a front to cover up her true intentions. I bet they're trying to ruin everything we've built, Jessica said, furious. We can't let that happen. Ashley took a deep breath. We can't let this shake us. I have proof that I was mistreated. And now, with the community's support, I can't let these lies bring me down. She began documenting everything: messages, emails, and even recordings of conversations she had at the store. It was time to expose the lies being spread. Weeks passed, and the foundation began to take shape. Ashley organized a meeting with media representatives and influencers who were willing to support her. We're here to talk about equality, respect, and the need for change, she said at a launch event. The room was full, and people were eager to hear her story. Jessica was by her side, providing support and encouragement. It's unacceptable that in the 21st century, we still have to fight against racism and discrimination, Ashley continued, her voice firm and clear. I'm not here just for myself, but for everyone who has ever felt invisible. No one should be treated as inferior because of the color of their skin. The audience applauded, and Ashley felt a wave of energy coursing through her body. It was as if, at that moment, everything she had gone through finally felt worthwhile. Meanwhile, Emily was at her desk, keeping up with the news about the foundation. With each update, her anger grew. She can't just go around talking like she's a martyr, she complained to her assistant. This is ridiculous. I'm going to show everyone that Ashley is just trying to promote herself. The assistant, sensing the intensity of Emily's frustration, hesitated before responding. But what if people really start to believe her? Her foundation is gaining support, and that could affect our store. Don't worry about that. I will turn this around, Emily said, her eyes filled with determination. The resentment consumed her, and at the same time, she knew she needed to act quickly. She began devising a plan to discredit Ashley, even if it meant crossing ethical boundaries. However, Ashley was one step ahead. With the community's support and the strength of the foundation, she organized an event to raise funds and raise awareness about racial discrimination. This event is going to be a milestone, Jessica said excitedly. We're going to show everyone that we're in this fight together. On the day of the event, the atmosphere was electric. People from different backgrounds gathered to support the cause, and the media presence brought even more attention. Ashley was nervous but determined. She took the stage, and when she looked out at the crowd, she felt a surge of courage. Today, we are here to celebrate diversity and demand change, Ashley began, her voice resonating among the crowd. Each of us has a role to play in the fight against racism. We can no longer remain silent in the face of injustice. The crowd applauded enthusiastically, and Ashley realized that her struggle was inspiring others. The event was a success, raising significant funds for the foundation. But while Ashley celebrated, Emily was lurking, planning her next move. Determined to discredit Ashley, Emily knew she needed to act quickly. But Ashley's determination and her growing community of support made this task increasingly difficult. The truth was on Ashley's side, and she was willing to fight for it, no matter what it took. The struggle was just beginning, but Ashley was ready. With her foundation underway and the community by her side, she would not be shaken by rumors or attacks. Change was on the horizon, and she was determined to be the voice that society needed to hear. The foundation created by Ashley Johnson was on the rise. With the support of her influential friend Jessica and a united community, she began to attract media attention, receiving invitations for interviews and events. Ashley's phone wouldn't stop ringing, and her email inbox was filled with messages from potential sponsors ready to invest in the fight against racism and for equality. However, amid the success and recognition, a shadow loomed closer. Emily, the manager of the luxury handbag store, was determined to sabotage everything Ashley had achieved. On the eve of the fundraising event, Ashley was in her living room, surrounded by posters and flyers promoting the foundation's cause. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the room, but worry consumed her. Jessica, what if this all ends in disaster? What if Emily manages to take me down? Ashley asked, her tone reflecting the anxiety that overwhelmed her. Jessica, who was helping organize the event details, looked at her friend with an encouraging smile. Ashley, you are stronger than you think. Your fight inspires so many people. Emily may try, but you are not alone. Let's show everyone that the truth always prevails. Ashley took a deep breath, trying to absorb Jessica's words. They spent hours discussing every detail of the event, from the guest list to the messages that would be conveyed. However, as they prepared, Emily was engaged in a silent battle, trying to undermine Ashley's credibility. She made a false report to the police, claiming that Ashley was involved in illegal activities related to the foundation's funding. The intent was clear: to create a scandal. On the day of the event, the atmosphere was electric. The hall was elegantly decorated, with tables arranged in a way that allowed interaction among guests. The dim lights and soft music created a welcoming environment, but Ashley felt the nerves pulsing in her veins. By her side, Jessica reassured her, adjusting the final details. Remember, you are here to make a difference. Emily's rumors carry no weight. The truth is your greatest ally, Jessica said, holding Ashley's hand. Ashley nodded, grateful for the support. You're right. I cannot let her take me down. This event is about all of us, about our fight. As the guests arrived, Ashley saw familiar faces and new allies, all united by the same cause. Excitement grew as she interacted with those present, sharing stories of overcoming and hope. However, at the back of her mind, the worry about Emily's report remained like a shadow. The night progressed, and Ashley took the stage to give her speech. The hall was packed, and she felt the pulsating energy from all those supporting her. With a smile on her face, she began to speak about the importance of equality and the fight against racism. We are here today not just to raise funds, but to unite our voices and show that change is possible. Each of you is part of this fight, and together we can transform our society, Ashley declared, as the audience applauded enthusiastically. As she spoke, a murmur began to grow among the guests. Ashley, noticing the shift in atmosphere, paused for a moment. She saw Mike, the young salesman who had treated her with respect in the store, approaching with a serious expression. He stepped up to the microphone, interrupting the presentation. Sorry, Ashley, but I need to speak. What happened to you in the store was just the tip of the iceberg. Emily didn't just question your financial capability. She has a history of discrimination against minority customers. I can't stay silent anymore, Mike said, his voice steady. The hall fell silent, all eyes on him. Ashley felt a mix of relief and apprehension. What do you mean by that, Mike? She asked, her voice trembling. I've worked with Emily for a long time. She has always made despicable comments about customers who don't fit her profile. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. And now, with this false report, she's trying to divert attention from the truth, Mike revealed, running his hand through his hair nervously. The tension in the air was palpable. Guests began to murmur, some whispering to each other while others showed outrage. Ashley felt it was her moment to act. Mike, thank you for having the courage to stand up. This is important. We need everyone to know the truth, she said, turning to the audience. Emily not only tried to ruin my reputation, but she is trying to silence a fight that is bigger than us. And that's why we cannot let this happen. Racism and discrimination have no place in our society, and I will not be silent, Ashley declared, her voice strong and resolute. The audience began to applaud, and the energy shifted. People were standing up, some even shouting words of support. Ashley felt a wave of strength and love envelop her. I am not the only one who has gone through this. We all have our stories. Let's unite and ensure that voices like ours are heard, she exclaimed, and the hall erupted in applause. With Mike's revelation, the truth about Emily began to spread rapidly. Social media was buzzing with reports of discrimination and injustice. Pressure mounted on the store, and authorities began to investigate Emily's practices. Days later, the store's management called a press conference. Emily looked visibly nervous, her face pale as she tried to deny the accusations. But the evidence against her was irrefutable. The history of discrimination was exposed, and public pressure became unsustainable. Finally, the day of Emily's dismissal arrived. Ashley was accompanied by Jessica and Mike when they received the news. A wave of relief washed over her. She finally got what she deserves, Jessica said, smiling. And now, more importantly, the store announced a new diversity and inclusion policy. This is just the beginning, Mike said, excited. Ashley felt a sense of accomplishment. Her fight had not been in vain. Change was underway, and her foundation was now a powerful voice in the fight against racism. With a smile on her face, she looked at Jessica and Mike, aware that together they were making a difference. Let's continue this fight. We have a lot of work ahead, and I know we can do even more, Ashley declared, her determination renewed. And so, with victory in hand and the support of her community, Ashley Johnson became a respected leader, inspiring others to stand up against injustice and discrimination. The fight was just beginning, but now there was hope.